guys. Welcome to Texas REIAs. I'm Shenoah Grove, the founder and president of Texas REIAs. Excited to be here with you guys all tonight. So we get together every Tuesday, Thursday in Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio to talk about real estate investors with the members of the association. So super stoked you guys are here today, and look forward to helping you guys as you're working on deals, as you're finding your way as a real estate investor, as you're trying to figure out this market. We will help. We help investors every day of the week, figuring out the market, figuring out what to do next. My husband and I have been investing in real estate for almost 2 decades now, so we've learned a few things with all of the different changes in the market, and we know how to invest when the market is up, when the market is down, when the market is sideways. We've even survived a pandemic market. We've survived the worst housing recession that the world has probably ever thrown at us, and have also thrived during that as well. So as we talk tonight, we'll make sure you guys all have the ability to know what to do next based on where the market is going. So one of the things we pride ourselves on here at Texas REIAs is sharing with you all the market updates so that you know what is happening right now and also what to expect. So that's something that I take a lot of time, effort, energy doing, partially because I'm a left-brainer numbers person, and I really like to dig into the analytical side of it, and also really understand what to do next and what happens next. So, and for me, I'm all in. So all my chips are in the real estate, in my real estate portfolio. So it's really important for me to make sure that I'm making the right moves from a long-term perspective, as well as even all the stuff that we do short-term. So the long-term stuff is the buy and holds, the rental properties, and in some cases we've owned for, 19 years. In other cases, it's the buy, fix, and flips, new builds that we are working on actively right now that we're going to be putting on the market in a very changing market. So how many of you guys are a little worried, a little concerned about where the market is going right now? One person is, 2 people, maybe 3 people. So what's giving you hesitation? What's giving you hesitation right now? It's okay. This is the interactive part. Buyers and the amount that they're willing to purchase for. When you say buyers, what does that mean?
Other investors. I'm not mainly dealing land personally, but we're just starting to see a trend where some buyers may pull out of certain deals.
You're seeing buyers pull out of certain deals. What might be a reason buyers might be pulling out of deals right now? Is it their choice? Is it their choice? It could be their choice, but could it also be that with an increase in interest rate that their debt to income ratio no longer qualifies them to be able to purchase that house anymore? And how do we solve for that? Like what piece of paper do we use to make sure that we know what that looks like? Maybe the third-party financing addendum. That's what we use as real estate investors, where they put in there what they are approved for, where they put in the max interest rate that they're expecting to get. Now, if there is a change in interest rate, or if there is, for some reason, the close extends beyond what their lock time is on their interest rate, does that sometimes change their ability to qualify? And the answer is yes. And I'm seeing a lot of very interesting issues with builders right now. So what are builders doing right now? When you're buying from a brand new builder and they're telling you your house is going to be done somewhere between 7 and 12 months, right? And then they call you 2 weeks before the house is complete and they say, hey, you got to close next week. What if that buyer can no longer qualify because they are expecting to close 3 months ago, and now their debt to income might not work anymore, right? So we're seeing some of these changes in the marketplace, right? So builders have been yielding a fair amount of power over the last 2 years, just because there's been such little inventory, and it's bidding wars for all of both new property as well as the existing property. And it's interesting to kind of see, some flip-flopping now. So now some of the builders are like, please come back, because when interest rates go up, what do buyers do? Are buyers like, yeah, this is wonderful, I get to pay an extra $50 or $100 a month for my loan? No, they're like, oh boy, maybe we should look back at what? What are they looking at right now? What's their alternative? They got to live somewhere. What are they doing? They're renting. So in some cases, we have seen up to 20% year-over-year increases in leases, and in some cases, in some of the markets in Texas, we've seen up to 20% year-over-year decreases in the sales volume, right? So we're going to continue to see decreases in sales volume for a while. So I think the fastest way for all of us to stop seeing decreases in sales volume, start seeing increases in sales volume is for what to happen. I'll just break it down to the most microeconomic level of just all of you guys in the room, which is stop buying stuff. Just stop buying stuff. Because if you stop buying stuff, what is that going to impact? Price, inflation, right? And when is Fed Chairman Powell going to stop raising interest rates? No, when inflation is under control, which means when we stop doing what? Buying stuff. Okay, so you know, it's funny, like I am a vitamin and supplement, I mean, I have a stack that's like would make a normal person choke, right? And I said to myself, you know, I've got all these different vitamins and supplements. I'm not gonna buy any more until like I go through every single one of the ones that I have, right? So, and then how many of you guys are maybe driving a little less or have been driving a little less maybe 60 days ago now that the prices are going down? How many of you guys have curbed your driving? None of you guys, okay, a couple of you guys. How many of you guys have stopped cursing at the gas pump when you, okay, so that could be a real thing, I don't know. But times are changing, right? Times are changing, so we have to adjust and change with the times and understand and adjust our expectations. So, and adjust what we do as real estate investors. So what might be some of the things that we're changing right now as real estate investors? What might be some of the things we might change as real estate investors right now? Somebody's going to say, stop buying stuff. No, what? Strategy, like, give me more. So when the market is slowing down, I want to be in more strategies that get me in and get me out as quickly as possible, right? Because I don't want to buy here and sell here. I 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 don't want to have to ride the thing all the way down. So wholesaling is great. Who are we going to wholesale to? We're going to wholesale to somebody else who's going to ride the whole thing down? So, who said that? Who said yeah? Okay. He's like, he has something to sell you tonight. So I would, so to be in integrity, I mean, and everyone has a different perspective on the market, but probably one of my favorite people to wholesale to is who? The fix and flip investor or the buy and hold investor? Buy and hold investor is number one, going to pay more. So that means I'm going to make more money, right? Than the fix and flip investor who's got a very tight numbers to be able to watch, because that's what we do as fix and flip investors. We force value in a very short period of time, typically between 4 and 6 months, right? But a buy and hold investor, they have to force value between 4 and 6 months and pay back that hard money loan. No, they get the right financing on it, they could probably keep it forever. So any mistake that they make by overpaying on the buy can be remedied with what? Time and appreciation, right? And do we see appreciation with time in Texas? The answer is yes, all day long. So that's a great strategy to be able to use. Buying subject to is always a great strategy to use. In fact, that's probably going to be one of my, you know, what's old is new again, right? So buying subject to, and specifically what we call the wraparound mortgage, selling unsellable houses to unloanable buyers, is what we've trademarked several years ago when banks stopped doing their job, which is they stopped lending. Sellers still wanted to sell, right, because they had maybe adjustable rate mortgages, maybe they had balloon payments, maybe they had other things going on in their lives. Buyers still wanted to buy, but the glue in the middle, the banks stopped doing their jobs, right? So what did? We found the disruption. So your job as an entrepreneur is to find the disruption, come up with a solution for that disruption, implement it, create a process around it so you can hand it to somebody else to do for you, right? And then look out for what? The next disruption, because they're always coming. And we've had more than our fair share of disruptions in every single market, especially the real estate market, over the course of the last 2 years especially. So looking for those types of opportunities. And then sometimes what's so fascinating is when someone is selling a house, especially a house with little, no, or negative equity, what becomes their value proposition? What makes them look sexy? What makes their house be sellable if they have little, no, or negative equity? What is that? maybe that 2.75% interest rate that they have on that originating loan, when other interest rates right now might be trading for somewhere between 5.5 and higher, right? So it's our job as real estate investors to convince them to do what? To keep that underlying loan in place. Keep that underlying loan in place, because even if we're buying it for what they bought it for, and even if, for example, prices went down, our mortgage rate is, and our mortgage payment is fixed for what? Until for the life of the loan, minus obviously property taxes and insurance, right? So these are some of the strategies that we use as real estate investors when there is a change in the market. And this is a strategy, like I said, that we use a lot in 2008, 2009, 2010, when banks were not doing their job because they were afraid to do their job of lending, right? So what is old is new again. So it only took about 12 years to come back into vogue, but this is going to be something that you guys are going to want to know about and understand as real estate investors, especially here in this market, because we're seeing some very quick changes. We're seeing some very fast changes when it comes to inventory. So we've been out of inventory for probably about the last 5 years. We have been running on, is anybody like, who are my people who will run their tank on empty and just kind of skate into to get their gas, right? I know some of you guys, okay, you're like that. So my husband is sometimes out there. It gives me a little heart attack when he does that. But so some of these things you skate into, right? So we've been in that phase, or different phases as real estate investors, especially over the last couple of years, just absolutely running on empty when it comes to inventory. Now we're starting to, now I would say we're back up to about a quarter tank. We're still not up to full yet, but we're fully up to a quarter tank when it comes to inventory. Which will provide a lot of different opportunities for us as real estate investors. What was some of the other cool news that we heard this week about investing, about our competition? Anybody get fined this week? Anybody get a big fine, like a $62 million fine this week? Open Door. Our friend, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Our friend Open Door, who has been attempting to do what? Steal our deals as real estate investors. Yes, right? Competing directly with us. What just happened to them this past week? The FTC said, your practices are not good. What were they doing? What were they doing? Say again? Lying up and down. I think that's a fair enough way to put it. I think that's the way the FTC put it, more or less. Right? So they were basically saying, I'll buy it for this, and then right at the last minute, what were they doing? Renegotiating everything and or adding a bunch of surprise fees and bogus fees, right? So somebody might think that I'm buying it for, I'm gonna walk away with $150,000. They end up walking away with maybe $120,000 or $130,000. Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm lost. You're lost. What is wholesaling? So wholesaling is when you get a property under contract. So for us, we use what's called the TREC contract, the Texas Real Estate Commission contract. You can find that online. Just Google TREC, T-R-E-C. You'll put it under contract using the 1 to 4 family contract if you're buying a single family residential home. In the buyer section, you'll write in your name and or your company name, and then after you write that in, you'll write in this beautiful little phrase called and or assigns, and or assigns. So that means you can do what? You can now assign that contract to someone else, okay? And then you'll go out and do some marketing and find some who's? Who are we looking for? Other real estate investors, right? Cash buyers, and ideally maybe some landlord buyers, because they'll typically pay more for that property than a fix and flip buyer, right? And then you'll sign a separate contract with them. So you may have your attorney draw up that contract, because TREC does not create an assignment agreement contract. But these assignment agreement contracts typically 2 to 3 pages long. In that assignment agreement contract, you'll outline who the seller is, what the property address and legal description is, what you're buying it for, what you are wholesaling it for, what your wholesale fee is, how that's going to be paid, and the other terms of the agreement that are attached to that contract that you have, okay? So you're finding that buyer who says, yes, I want that property. Then you'll send your invoice to the title company so that the title company knows to pay you, and then the transaction will be completed by the seller who you originally contracted with and the end buyer who you found probably in this room tonight. Yeah? And then typically a wholesale fee, $5,000, $10,000. There are plenty of outliers that might go $50,000 or more, but $5,000 to $10,000 to $20,000 is probably where 80% of the wholesale fees lie. So it's a great way for a real estate investor who doesn't have any money and who maybe doesn't know a lot about investing and or doesn't want to take the risk of the market, right? What goes on in the market, and doesn't maybe want to get a hard money loan or a private money loan, or doesn't have the money after you get the loan to purchase the property to actually do the repairs yourself, right? And then it's a great way to shadow that person afterward and then add them to your buyer's list for the next property that you find. So you are basically someone who's just going out finding properties. You're beyond the bird dog status. So bird dog status is just, hey, here's a lead, here's a number, good luck to you, pay me $500 if you do something with it. At the wholesaler level, at that point, you are actually getting it under contract, getting it to title company, doing some of the initial due diligence in terms of repairs, in terms of the ARV, after repair value, working with a realtor to figure out what it's ultimately going to sell for, maybe working with a contractor to figure out what the repairs are going to be. But what I find is most wholesalers don't want to know what it's like. If I don't get a if I don't get a bid, are there really any repairs? That's wholesaler logic. That's funny. All right, maybe not to you guys. I'll try again. I'm going to give you another shot at this joke thing. So does that help you understand kind of the concept of wholesaling? So you never take title. You don't take any risk because you are getting it under contract also with an option fee and on an option period, which gives you the ability to terminate that contract in the event that you do not find another buyer, or in the event that your buyer ultimately drops out or something like that. So it's a great way to get started as a real estate investor. And then ultimately, and I'm curious, has anybody in here ever read the book, The Millionaire Wholesaler? Yeah, it was never written. Okay, so I always like the one person who's like, oh, I've read that book, and you know, it's like, and I'm like, okay, well, give me an ISBN number, and they're like, but guys, thank you in the back. You didn't know you were going to be rearranging the furniture tonight, but if you don't mind, yeah, pull down some chairs so that we can all have a seat here. We have a bunch in the front. I see some of you guys are standing in the back. If you have been sitting in a cube all day long, I totally get that. I totally get standing up. If you want the cure for standing up, I'll show you. This is Exhibit A. These are heels, okay? This will make you want to sit back down. but yeah, so guys, please feel free, grab some chairs or just sit closer to the front. Love to have you. I'm super curious, who in here is working on a real estate transaction right now? Fantastic. Who's struggling with one right now? Anyone struggling with one? Everything's all together. You're struggling with one. Can I help with that? It's a land deal. I'm familiar with land. Yeah. Would you do me a favor? Remind me your name first off. Bruce. I love that name. Bruce. Right? It's manly, right? Yeah, Bruce. Why don't you stand your manly man Bruce self up and come over to this microphone. Let me help you on that deal. Is that okay? Welcome, Bruce. All right. Bruce, let me see what I got here. So I'm gonna put you on the camera too. So tell me, oh, you may have to move the camera back. Oh, yeah. You aren't gonna have to sit in that guy's lap. No, I'm kidding. Right. So Bruce, tell me what you're working on right now.
So I'm working on 2 acres.
2 acres?
Laredo,
in Laredo?
Texas.
Yeah. So south?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Right,
great.
south,
And
yeah.
so are you from the Laredo area? How'd you find this deal?
I was actually contacting some people in Horseshoe Bay around Austin. And I was looking for some land out there.
Okay, and how'd you find it? So you just talked to somebody and they had a piece of property in Laredo that they wanted to sell?
So the seller, she wasn't willing sell any property that she had in Horseshoe Bay, but she mentioned she had some property in Laredo.
So guys, please write this down. This is a great lesson. Anytime you're talking to a seller, even if they don't want to sell the property that you're calling them about, just simply ask them, do you have anything else that you might want to sell?
Yeah.
Because sometimes that happens, right? So you got a property in Laredo. Tell me the numbers on it.
Right now, I got it under contract for 10.5.
10.5, okay.
And looking for a buyer at like 18.5.
Looking for a buyer at 18.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was $8,000. $8,000.
And it's 2 lots, so it's
2 lots.
Each lot is an acre, so
okay,
that's the spread on each one.
So who are you looking for? What are you doing right now to be able to find your buyer?
Right now, honestly, I've just been working with a realtor out there.
You've been working with a realtor out there.
But I should probably place it on Facebook. But I've been noticing the numbers kind of low on there, so working with realtors kind of been like my best route.
Let me ask you this: Do you have it under contract yet?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. How are you advertising it?
Through the realtor.
Okay. How will you be advertising it when you realize that realtor is not going to be able to help you?
Probably place a sign. Signs have worked in the past for me,
signs
so I'll
work
get
great,
somebody to place a sign on it.
Okay, so what are you going to say on the sign?
For sale. That's
for sale?
It.
By who?
By owner.
By owner. Is that correct? No. No. Well, what do you want to do to protect yourself to make sure that the Texas Real Estate Commission doesn't find you and fine you?
I guess you would just put for sale and leave out the owner part, right?
What are we selling? What is he selling?
The contract.
Selling a contract. He's selling his equitable interest in the property. He's selling a contract. You're not the owner.
Right.
You're selling your equitable interest in the property, which means you're selling your contract. So just be very, just be very super precise in your words, because there are some people who will turn you. I'm not going to turn you into Trek, neither will anybody in this room. But there are some people who will turn you into Trek and say this person's trying to sell something that he doesn't own. Yeah. So what the way that Texas Real Estate Commission views that is that you are acting like a realtor who's not licensed.
Right.
Okay, and they don't like that. So that's where that $5,000 fine comes in, which is basically almost your entire fee. Okay. Yeah. Do you want me to tell you how to find a buyer?
Please.
Well, guys, what do you think? What do you want to tell him on how to find his buyer? Cameron? What? Oh, Damien, networking? Okay, what else? What else we got? Social media? Yeah, he's going to put it on Facebook. What else we got? Say it again? Recent close or cash sale buyer. So where can we get that list? MLS, great. Where else can we get a list?
I got to write that down.
Yeah, good, write it down. That'd be good. Tax appraisal. So might you want to look for other people who own rental property in that area, right? Might you want to get a list of other non-owner occupants, right? A list of other landlords, right? So your realtor friend can grab that list for you. So all you have to do is just like she already has the address, presumably,
right?
And then you can just say, do a search in that subdivision or do a search in that zip code. Give me a list, because typically, what's the source that we use for this list? What's this called? It's called Real List. Real List. Your realtors can typically pull up to 8,000 searches, right? Or not 8,000 searches, but 8,000 pieces of data every single month. So you want a list of all of the other landowners, vacant property owners in that area, who might want to buy your property, that might be part of their strategy. You also want a list of probably some of the other non-owner occupants, the other landlords that are in that both immediate area as well as in the close surrounding area. And what are you going to tell those people when you contact them?
When I contact them, I would just let them know I have a property for sale.
I have a property for sale. What else are you going to tell them? You're talking to another investor who owns property. What else do you want to tell him? What else do you want to ask him? I want my marketing to do double duty at every single opportunity it can. So what does that mean? You want to ask them, hey, I noticed you have some cash flow and rental property over there. Would you like to buy another property that has potential to add to your cash flow and add to your appreciation, add to your wealth? I might be interested in that. If your marketing's doing double duty, you're also asking them, well, if you're not looking for that, would you like to sell the property you currently have down there? And then, Bruce, you may have to move to Laredo.
Nah.
Okay, who's from Laredo? I'm just curious who Bruce offended in here. But that would be how you would find those folks, right? That would be how you find those folks. Typically,
I appreciate that.
I mean, not always, but it's not atypical for them not to be raising their hand, right? So you have to get them to raise your hand. Getting that list, that's a free list that your realtor can pull. Now, I will tell you, so I'm a licensed realtor and broker in the great state of Texas, license number 0518223. Okay. What I have found is this: most realtors have no idea what Real List is and or how to use it. So you may want to educate that realtor in terms of how to pull that, because it's a great way to get a free list. REALLIST. It's usually attached to their MLS access, so they can find it in their search. Sometimes it's called like getting into basically the tax records. So every MLS has it a little bit differently. But that would be a great way for you to be able to find buyers there. Also look for other people that are building in that area. So some of the gentlemen in the room said, yeah, look for people who are already building over there and wholesale it to them. And then what's cool about that is that it'll also tell you right up front whether or not you got a good price on that property, right? So if you're talking to some of the builders over there, I would ask them immediately, like, what did you buy that property that you just built that you built your current house for, right? And if they tell you they bought it for half off of what you have your property under, Bruce is sitting there. Bruce is sitting there. That's Bruce's seat.
That's my seat.
Yeah, you guys scoot over, yeah. Yeah, Bruce, we don't want to make Bruce lose his
Appreciate
seat
that.
because he's helping. So, we're going to protect your seat. Don't worry. Thank you guys for that too. So, Bruce, does that give you some ideas and some help and some guidance?
Oh yeah, you definitely did. I'm writing everything down.
Okay, yeah. Please write down. I'm selling my equitable interest. I'm selling my contract. Please write down Real List. Please write down your marketing doing double duty to make sure that you get both. You get it both coming and going.
Perfect.
Right. So that call's not wasted. Yeah.
Thank you.
What he should put on his sign, selling?
Oh, yeah, no, I would just for sale, and a phone number. And when you talk to the person, you let them know, I'm selling my equitable interest in this property. So what are they going to say? What the heck is equitable interest, right? So what you're going to say is, I have this property under contract. I can't sell the property because otherwise I'd be acting like an unlicensed agent. But I can sell my equitable interest in this property, which means I can sell my contract to you. Does that make sense? And I saw another question over here. Yes, sir.
This is just a case for wholesaling land, right?
Oh no, this is wholesaling land. It could be wholesaling a single-family residential, duplex, threeplex, fourplex, etc. So yeah, good. That's an excellent question. Yeah, it's about whether or not they think you're acting like a realtor. So the whole idea is, don't act like a realtor by saying I'm selling a property that I don't own, because then you sound like, I'm sorry, did you say you're a realtor? Did you say you're a licensed? And people get very particular about this, and that's why I say we want to be very precise in our language so that we don't get found and fined, right? So yeah, just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. Well, Bruce, thank you so much for allowing me to help with that. I hope you got something out of it. And yes, sir, I see you have a question. Find, F-I-N-E.
How can you get fined?
How can you get fined? So the Texas Real Estate Commission will fine realtors that are unlicensed. So when you're selling a property for someone else, which is what that sounds like, TREC does not allow that. So TREC is the commission that license all realtors, brokers, inspectors, appraisers, that sort of thing. So, and they typically will fine you up to $5,000. They do it all the time. So in fact, they keep a list on their website of all the people that have gotten in trouble doing things that are not allowed by Texas law, as an example. And who files? It varies. So it could be another investor. It could be another realtor. It could be your buyer. Could be anybody that you upset and or feels like they were hurt by your actions. Yeah, so TREC, Texas Real Estate Commission, is a licensing board for realtors, but their goal is to protect consumers in real estate transactions, right? So in this particular case, a consumer might say, well, I feel like I was not treated legally, right? Somebody made a mistake, and they go to TREC to be able to resolve these types of issues. Yeah, and TREC is constantly resolving issues for both realtors and non-realtors alike. So that's a good question. Yeah, and guys, I think we are about to get started with the next part of the presentation here. So I want to thank you guys for all joining us. We do multiple parts of our presentation tonight. So in our first part, we talk about some of the different ways that we can help as part of Texas REIAs. And one of the big ways that we get to help people is by making sure that they understand all the different ways that you can both be successful as a real estate investor, as all of the different potholes that are out there and the sand traps that are out there. Because since we've been doing this for the last almost 2 decades, we've learned a few things, right? Laws have changed. Our attorneys have been guiding us this entire time to make sure that we don't run afoul of the law and understand just the risk and opportunities that come up with every single transaction that's out there. So. And then also every week when we get together, we usually pull someone from the audience and ask them what they're working on and ask them how we can be of help or service and helping them make money off of that deal. So that's a great thing about being part of this network. A great thing about being part of this association is that you can get that type of guidance from people who have that expertise. So as part of Texas REIAs, we meet every single Tuesday and Thursday in each of the different markets, or one of the different markets, Austin, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. So we live here, we work here, we invest here. And so we have different power team members in all of the different markets. Now I will say, Bruce, you've got a deal in Laredo. I might know 2 investors in South Texas. Maybe 4, but you want to make sure to get networked with other investors in that community if you are wholesaling in that community. And what a lot of people will, and even people here in this market and where we're at right now, they heard, I don't know if you guys heard Bruce's number, what he had it under contract for, but a lot of investors will say, I can't afford Dallas anymore because the average price has really gone up. So I'm looking for other markets to invest in where I might be able to find a lower price opportunity where I can get in, for example, with my own cash. So that's where some of this magic happens. So, sir, I'm sorry, you were raising your hand earlier.
Yes,
Yeah.
Do you foresee any regulations being put in place for investors or wholesalers in the very near future?
Yeah, so the question was, do you foresee any regulations coming up for wholesalers here in Texas? So in other states, they have started to require anyone who is wholesaling to become licensed, okay? They have not done that in Texas. However, in Texas, they continue to clarify the rules around wholesaling. So for example, in 2017, on the TREC website, there's actually even an article to help people who are, I don't want to say to help people who are wholesaling, but just to give you some instructions to make sure that wholesalers are kept safe and are saying things correctly. I don't see any sort of a mandate coming anytime soon to require wholesalers in Texas to be licensed as agents. But that is something that we'll continue to watch for sure if that comes up. I will say the beautiful thing about Texas versus most of the other states out there is our Texas government, our legislature, only meets every other year to screw things up. So that's kind of a bonus to us. So after we slid past the last legislative session, then we got another 2 years of breathing room before they come in and maybe mess something else up for us. And they do try to do that often. So that is something that we watch very carefully. We have taken whole groups as part of the Real Estate Investor Association down to go and testify in front of the local or the state government because they try to change laws that affect us as real estate investors and even affect their constituents, their regular constituents, and their non-investor constituents as well. And a lot of times what we found and we were so surprised by is I'm going to sound really naive when I say this, but the people that are making rules have no idea about about some of the things that they're making rules and laws about, and or some of the collateral damage that's associated with these types of laws. So for example, in 2005, they changed the way that we could do lease options in Texas that has basically made lease options illegal in Texas. Now we do have workarounds around that, and I'm sure if they do require people to wholesale to have their license, I'm sure we'll figure out a workaround because that's what we do as creative real estate investors. So very good question. And I think we're going to wrap up this part of the segment. So there we go.